Hey guys, okay, so welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do a quickish tutorial for you today. It's just going to be my naturally defined brow compared to, say, a much more like non-natural defined, the more Instagram kind of brow. Yeah, so I'm just going to show you how I would do both and what I would use. Now obviously this is going to be more applicable for people with very thick brows because that's what I have. I have done brow tutorials in the past for when I had thinner brows. Feel free to browse through my playlists and you should find those, but I can obviously only deal with what I have on my face now. I have, oh yeah, ignore my makeup by the way. This is on since very early this morning. I was doing makeup at a wedding, and this is the kind of makeup I would tend to wear. Nothing too heavy. I actually didn't even have a lip on. I threw that on afterwards. So these are my eyebrows with nothing on. You can see that they've grown in quite well. I mean, they've been thick for quite a while now, but I've thickened up the tail a little bit. There is a wee gap, like it always looks like there's a little hole in here. More or less though, they're pretty full. So I don't like to go overboard with them because you'll see even here now when I do the natural like definition, they look pretty thick. Yeah, so let's start off. My favorite product to use at the moment is the Brow Archery by Soap & Glory. This is like a dupe for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz, I think it's called, or the MAC brow pencil, like Fling and Lingering in those, or the, let's see who else does it. Smashbox does the same one. Loads of people do them. I just really like this one for the price. So what I tend to do is not worry about doing a big thick line. Actually, I should zoom in. So yeah, rather than worry about doing a big line underneath, I literally just do little strokes to fill in any gaps that are noticeable. So if you're unsure where the gaps are, generally with thinner eyebrows this will work. Mine are so thin it doesn't really work, but just make sure they're brushed into place. I was going to say what often works is when you brush them down, it'll show like little holy gaps. I mean, you can definitely see that one there, but sure you can see it even when it's up. Just brush the brows into place. See where they're more sparse and more filled in. Literally just fill in the gaps. My baseline isn't like 100% straight, so I'll probably do straighten that a little bit more. And you can see here I'm not doing a huge amount of them. I'm going really light, but immediately that is making it just more like substantial is the best word. And this is the kind of brow that I tend to do in most of my tutorials, because otherwise I would be a walking eyebrow, and you'll see now when I do it more defined. I don't like to go too defined because unless it's my shining feature or focus feature for that particular look, I don't like to go overboard with them because they are so thick. I don't like to put too much through this part here either. But you can see here I'm not going outside the lines or anything, but it still looks so much more full just from filling in. Now the only part I do fill in is they seem to like swoop down here a little bit. So I like to bridge that a little bit. And yeah, that's my natural brow. So just finish off by filling in any obvious gaps. And then there you go, that's it, very naturally filled in. So what I would often do then to finish off is just get a bit of gel. Sometimes clear, it's bourgeois ones that I tend to use quite a lot. I've actually got 3 colours and I use them all. This is the clear one, the châtain, which is like a light brown, and then this is the darker brown. Depending on how strong I go, I often just go in with the clear one. It doesn't really matter because, like I said, it's quite natural. Sometimes I literally just use the gel though, because especially if I use one of the gels that have colours in them, or you know, the tint to them, they really thicken out the brow. And then for my more defined brow, I'm going to use this guy by Essence. It's the How to Make Brows Wow makeup box. So it has 3 different brow shades, which I like. I tend to use 2 different shades for this. It has a highlighter, which I won't use. Sometimes I use wax, but I usually find I don't need to. And yeah, we'll just go with that. I don't like to use the pomades, like the gel pots, because they're just way too intense for my size of brow. I use a very tiny angled brush. I think this one is Coastal Scents, and start at the end. So start by drawing. Sometimes I do just use a pencil for this, but powder does tend to make them a little bit more significant. So I start with the baseline, and usually will extend my brow. So I just work my way in. I don't like to start here because I find that I will make it too defined. So I'm really working on straightening that baseline, which I wouldn't do for a more natural brow. And then do the same thing up here where I fill in that little swoop. Now the only time I do sometimes move to a pencil is just for this end part. So that's much more defined. Sometimes I use pencil, sometimes I don't. Depends on if I'm lengthening the brows or not. I'll use the pencil just quickly underneath to fill in any gaps. Just don't want it to be too crazy. And now I'm just filling in that brow with powder. It's important for me not to go too dark with it. Because like I said, I don't want to be like a walking eyebrow. I know a lot of people tend to brush the brows down and then draw a line. I just find that it almost thickens my brows too much, but I'll do it a little bit. I won't do a line, I won't go above the hairs. So I'm actually going underneath where the hairs begin to grow. And then I'm going to go into the lighter colours and just lightly pop that through. Start the brow and always in an upward motion. And then anywhere where there's gaps, I definitely need to go in with the darker brown. I think the reason I like shadow over pomade is because the hairs will still look like hairs. It doesn't really wet them down or mask them too much. And I always like this inner part to look a bit more feral. So really brush that up, and then I will go over with a like tinted brow pomade or brow gel rather this time. So I'm just using the medium one from Bourjois. I always brush the hairs up and leave them up in the inner corner, and then brush them over and down then towards the edge. So even though I didn't go outside my hairline, it just is very, very, very thicker looking though. It's just, I suppose because you're making more definite edges. But yeah, there you go. That's my natural brow compared to my filled in like Instagram brow. I do want to point out quickly though that while I prefer this brow, I do love to do a brow like this, but I would wear it in more of an editorial way where I would have almost nothing on the eyes, like maybe just a lick of mascara and then like concealer and a bit of powder or whatever. And then I'd either do a strong lip or else nothing on the rest of the face. I just tend not to pair it with others, but that's just personal preference again. So yeah.